Gender inequality in video games is an interesting topic for me to grapple with as a male gamer. I was raised on series that I still celebrate, like Mario and Zelda, which really reinforce the damsel in distress stereotype of video gaming. Their primary goal is to save a helpless woman. These games resonated with me all the more as a child because I was playing as a boy. And because of that, they probably damaged my growing perception, my then budding perception of gender difference. And I'd like to point out, however, that in recent years, the video game industry is, as I would like to believe, really growing and evolving and hopefully moving past that stage. For instance, in small ways, although Peach is still a damsel in Mario games, she no longer rewards the Savior Mario brother romantically by kissing them. Originally, it was a kiss on the cheek, then eventually a peck on the nose, and now the two of them usually just jump up and down happily because she's been rescued. All inkling of sexual reward has been essentially removed from the situation, something that is very positive and something that I'd like to see the Mario series trend more and more towards as time goes on. Zelda took a slightly different approach in really empowering Zelda. Even though she was frequently in trouble or stuck somewhere because of powers slightly beyond her control, she was awesome. In Wind Waker, she assists you in the final battle by also hurting Ganon, shooting light arrows into him. Only working together can the two of you triumph. In Twilight Princess, a similar story occurs. However, her help is robbed from you so that you can have the mano-a-mano, man-against-man final battle. Still not perfect, moving in a positive direction, albeit slowly. Now, I'd like to talk about one of the first games that really challenged my budding view of gender inequality in video games, being Final Fantasy IX for the PlayStation 1. I recall playing this game as a lad and being really, really surprised, and in a positive way, by the fact that the princess character, in the first minutes of the game, is actually in the middle of saving herself in a very capable fashion. The hero character that you begin as, Zidane, is a kidnapper who is trying to steal her away from the castle. Only because their values match up, him trying to take her and her trying to leave, do the characters actually team up. And they become important to each other. The game makes fun of Zidane on several different occasions for trying to be flirty. He's viewed as being bad because of it. And she's viewed as being all the more powerful because she is a princess who has entered into a fantasy adventure party and become a very valuable integral member of it. Very cool. Way to go, Final Fantasy. Now, fantasy games are an interesting subject to talk about in the arena of gender inequality. I'm sure we've all noticed as gamers that the epic tier armors for a man are really bulky and tank-like, really cool, covered in ornate skulls or screaming faces and tattered capes. You look awesome. You look like you could weather any attack and stay standing. However, the epic tier armors for a female character are more often than not a Slave Leia bikini. And the stats tell you that the armor is amazing. From a gameplay standpoint, the armor is better than what you started with, but why? It's not abundantly clear from looking at it. It's not going to help you. It's not going to protect you from any piercing attack. Now, I'd like to talk about Diablo 3. I've got the home console version here in my hand today, and I'd like to talk about what it does to sort of buck that fantasy adventure trend. You see, the Diablo series is all about grabbing and upgrading to better armor all the time. I played as a female barbarian in Diablo 3, and although a lot of the armor can be a little too sexy, by the time I was done with my female barbarian, and she was at the highest level she needed to be in order to vanquish the final boss, she was pretty well armor clad. She looked very equipped for battle. Not a lot of her was showing. At least she wasn't showing any more skin than I believe the male barbarian character does. I was, at that point, a very large, very pissed off woman with an axe in my hands, ripping through demons. And I was very okay with that. That felt very positive. Good job, in ways, Diablo. What I'd really like to talk about today are two positive gender situations in video gaming. And that is gender treated in a more neutral fashion and gender being recognized but treated in a really progressive, adult, cool way. So first let's talk about Mass Effect. Mass Effect achieves a certain level of gender neutrality, unfortunately, because of cost effectiveness. The Mass Effect series is an RPG in which your decisions expand, change your gameplay experience even in the far future of the gaming series. What's interesting about this, however, is that regardless of whether you choose to play as a male or female character, your surname is by default Shepard. It must be Shepard, so that everyone in the game, when speaking, can refer to you as the default Shepard, a gender-neutral name. The game has to treat you in gender-neutral ways for the majority of the time, or else production cost would have just been ridiculous. What that achieves then actually is a game that is free from a lot of gender inequality in just a time-to-time gameplay experience. When you're on missions, when you're talking to a lot of characters, your gender isn't brought up. The conversation works exactly the same as it would otherwise. Now, the series is certainly guilty of its own sexist tropes. However, I think that it represents a really cool new arena that video games can expand out into. And that's the idea that the character's gender doesn't matter. In this case, because if it did matter, you'd have to generate twice as much content and record twice as much dialogue. But good job moving in the right direction. I think that the healthiest portrayal of men and women right here is a 3DS game called Kid Icarus Uprising. Pit, the main character in the game, is a naive, powerful young man who is completely lost without the guidance of his equally, if not more so powerful, female guiding companion, who works in a matriarch sort of fashion, not a romantic fashion. Pit and Palutena, the goddess, don't have a romantic relationship, rather they have a symbiotic relationship. Never explicitly stated how. The characters really love and care about each other on an almost familial way. It's a beautiful thing. The main character is a powerful man that someone like me, who was raised on something like this, can associate with. But all the while, he is being rescued and rescuing a really powerful female character. It's symbiotic. The two of them can be clearly defined as gender different. I'm like, but at the same time, they're powerful and important to each other in the story. The woman saves the man just as the man saves the woman. The two of them work together to overcome the obstacles in the series. It's great. And it's full of other powerful female characters. The final boss, what appears to be the final boss, the most powerful entity in the universe, is at first a woman. Later it's revealed to be a different, more powerful final boss that is a man. But you're not trying to rescue anyone. You're doing this for the good of mankind. You're fighting great evils that their gender doesn't have any bearing on how dangerous they're going to be to you. And you're doing it in an environment that explores really healthy intergender relations all the time. The game doesn't take itself very seriously. It's a comedy. But it's a really beautiful exploration of the relationship between a man and a woman not being romantic. Play it. Seriously. Go buy this. It's awesome.